What's up, everyone? This is Naftastic EDC. You know me, Rodney. I wanted to show a few things. I wanted to talk about the 301, which is a great knife by Twosun, and the TS195 Wave that I've completed a mod to, the crown on the spine, and the Twosun TS46. It's a dagger style knife that was white and blue G10 that I dyed to a denim blue and black G10. It's got a D2 blade, and I'm in the process of doing something with that. I want to talk to you about that. And then a knife that a friend of mine gave me. This is sort of an in-process thing. He had done an heat anno on it, and it didn't come out to his liking, and the other day at work he handed it to me. This guy's a very cool dude, very generous, and helps my channel out with his friendliness and giving attitude, and I really appreciate it as a friend and as a co-worker and as a YouTuber because it helps my channel. But he did this, and he is a stickler for detail and everything being perfect and right, and I'm guessing it wasn't to his liking. It had some variations in it, and he said, hey, I'm gonna give this to you. You like modding, see what you can do with it, and we'll go from there. Whatever, it's yours to do what you want with it. So I come home and took it apart, and had a lot of burrs on it and a little bit of warpage to it. I'm guessing from possibly the heat. He said there was a screw on one of them that there was a problem. I did not find that. I need to talk to him about that. Everything seemed to be fine on that end. What I did is I put these zip ties on them and ran them through the shop tumbler at my work for about 2 hours. And while it took most of the color off, you can see some of the color still there. But the media that's in that tumbler is super fine for what they were tumbling that day. So it gives an almost satin look, and you can see the coloring in it still, sort of a haze, which I sort of like that. That's sort of what I call a worn look, a battle worn type, and these are titanium. And then I stone washed this, and I taped it up so I wouldn't wear on the pivot area and on the detent ball. But you could see on this material it gave more of a stone wash effect. Now this is stainless, same media, same time. I did take this one out a little sooner, so maybe that's why there's a variation in excuse me, I burped, forgive me. But that's the finish. So what I'm thinking about doing with this one is put it about together as is and see what it looks like, and see when I get the action of it. Like, this is alum, and there's the blade for it. It's a VG10 Spyderco, and if I don't like the look of that, I'm going to go to our other fab shop, my boss's fab shop or weld shop, and put this in their glass beater and glass bead the scales here, and then maybe do another anode job on it. Instead of heat, though, I'll be using electricity with my trusty anode machine. Okay, now with this, what I did was I crowned the spine. We had talked about doing a crown job, and one of my subscribers, David, you know who you are, you asked about what is a crown spine. Well, that's where, and it's sort of hard to see because it's not so drastic, but I rounded these top edges, and it's just so hard to really see on camera, but you can see where I rounded. I don't know if I can get that image right, but I totally rounded the top spine and get it to focus, and rolled those edges over around the whole thing. And in the process, I removed a lot of the jimping, and I ended up setting the mill up and recutting that. I thought about going across the entire thing, and I still might, but I went with a little bit more of an aggressive jump than what was on there. A little bit sharper tops, so I get a real nice, still get a real nice purchase on that forward jump there, and this rear jump area is for the front flip. So you have the designation between the two, but the action on this is just great. It's a great front flipper. I believe I like the front flipping action better than the back flipping action, because it just feels more natural to me. I got to really, the detent is, as a lot of people know, when you have multi-deployment options, one usually outperforms the other. And to get one to perform sweet, the other one suffers. And on this particular knife, I think it's mainly designed, in my opinion, as a front flipper. And right now, as it sits, it's tuned or set up, per se, for the front flipper action to be just on top and just work great. It's not super snappy unless you really rock your thumb over. You know, if you gently roll it over, it doesn't have that thwack. But it's just, the action is just great. Lockup is about not quite 50%. Blade centering, I have to adjust the pivot on this, but blade centering is right down the center. I got it a little loose now because I just assembled it when I put it back together. I got just a little bit of blade play in it, and I don't know if I have my tool right here handy. I got one of these, and it's a T8, so let's grab the T8. That's the T8 right there, and tighten this up just a tick. Yeah, it's a little loose. I had to be real careful on this crowning, that it did not affect the backside of this, because that's the blade stop. That's where it hits. The back of the spine of the blade hits the titanium frame, the integral portion, and creates the lockup in the combination with the frame lock here. So I had to be real careful. On this particular knife, it does not have a detent ramp on the blade, and I'm in the process talking about getting pivots like to loosen up a lot to get it just right, because bearing knives are funny. You can get them tight, and you can keep tightening them, and they're still fluid. But sometimes you can get the blade off center depending on how tight. Now that's dead center, perfect. And the action is still great. But the more you fidget with it and open and close and open and close and open and close, because it's bearings and because screws are precision made, they will back off. So you know, when you get a knife set, you need to use some removable Loctite or some don't use red, use blue. I think there's a green out there. There's a couple different variations and different brands and different makes, but make sure you don't use permanent Loctite. Generally red is considered permanent. But I need to put some Loctite on this. What I did, talking about the detent ramp, there's such a thin area on this blade to where it engages with this external hardened lock face surface. There's such a small area there to put a ramp into that would not possibly affect the lockup. I'm guessing Twosun decided not to put a detent ramp in it. Now, you really don't need it because it drops shut once you break that surface, once you get past it. It's like you can see where it's at. It's like right there. And all you got to do is press just a little bit more and it falls past it. Now, this here, because I haven't put any oil or anything on it, and it runs smooth without the oil, it's not drop shutty. Now granted, we're not talking about drop shutty is not always great. It's nice and sweet and it's cool to look at, but that doesn't mean the action is not good not being drop shut. Drop shut is a thing that is really cool to be, I reckon. But anyway, I started to, I don't know if you can hear it. I want you to see if you can listen. I'm going to shut up. You hear that small tick? Right there. Right there. Hear it? If you can't hear what I'm talking about, it's a very faint tick. I mean, it's just like tick. And what I did was I started grinding a very faint, small, with a round diamond file, a detent ramp. And then I realized, you know, there's not a lot of area there, so I didn't really finish it. There's a very minute one there. I mean, faint, probably like 40 thou wide and about 5 thou deep. It's pretty much it's visually there. It's cosmetically you can see it, but it's not really a functioning detent ramp. And I think that's causing that little click that I hear on the detent ball in the insert here, on the lock face of the insert, causing that little faint tick that I hear when I close it. But that's what I did. You can see I rounded, and I still got a little bit more polishing to do. I tried to get in here. You can see a few little lines here and there where it's not quite finished, but I softened up all these interior lines because it was real sharp here. I mean, super sharp enough if you rubbed your hand hard enough, or if you had girly hands, you could possibly cut yourself. And then I rounded and slightly took these faces here and softened them up a little bit so they're not sharp, to where the only sharp area is on the blade of the knife, which that's the only where the only sharp area should be. And I totally crowned over the spine and trying to get it to show up. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but it's totally rounded over. And that's the job I did on the TS195 Wave Integral. Let me know what you guys think. Did I do okay? Do I need to do a little more? Or daggone, Rodney, you suck. Anyway, I'm happy with it. I got a few final little edges and polishing to do on a few areas that have a scratch here and there, but I feel very confident that I'll be able to fix all of those. Now, one more thing before we get to the 301. The TS46 is a single-edged dagger, and I modded this one and put the I dyed the scales the denim blue G10, and now they're the denim blue and the black, and it's got the sort of a big older style pocket clip on it, stainless liners, and I like this knife. It's sort of big in hand. It's a beefy one. It's a thick one, like Twosun G10 models generally are. Action is great. This is running on multi-row bearings, which a lot of the Twosuns are running on single row. This particular knife is running on double row bearings. The action is good and smooth, but I got it sort of tight. Centering is right down the center. It's hard to see in there because the blade's a double edge, and they bring this edge in here as a false edge where it's not sharp. When I got this knife, it was flawed from Twosun, and I've had two of them. I have this one, and I had the titanium version, which was in good condition. It didn't have a flaw, and I just didn't like it, and I was able to sell it and recoup some of my money to buy other knives, so that's what I did. And I decided to keep this one for now. I might end up selling this one or doing a giveaway with it. Y'all let me think about that. Would y'all like this to be one of the giveaway knives? I don't know. I got a couple things in the bag that I'm going to be doing in my 750 giveaway already. I already have one Twosun in there. I was thinking about adding this one. Y'all comment and let me know. Would you like this one to be added? It is a rare one. This is not one that you see on eBay anymore. Of course, it was never a real popular one. I've seen this one go for between 45 and I think I seen one for like 85 or 90, and that's when they first come out. Because on eBay and Twosuns, the price, it's all dependent on how high somebody's going to bid, and some of them go for a lot more than I'm willing to pay. I think I paid 45 or 47 for this one, and I've had it a while. But what I did is, I'm still in the process of grinding it. I had to grind all this back, and you can see the difference in the thickness from the side to side. This is the sharp edge, this is the false edge. Now you can see that it looks the same as far as the profile, this recurve and dagger point, but you can definitely see that this side is thinner. Now I can do two things. I'm going to sharpen this. One of the reasons when I did this knife, because I wanted to get this blade profile below the scales here, because it was just flawed. I'm not sure what happened or what they did in the factory. The pivot's offset or something, but it was sticking up high. And I thought that I could grind it down to where it would be below flush of the liners and it would be symmetrical from side to side. But as you can see, it's pretty significantly different from side to side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to grind this edge down to where it's even to this edge and resharpen it, and leave this a false edge to where it's not sharp, the side that's not sharp now, or grind this side down to where it matches this side and sharpen both sides. Now regardless if I keep it or use it in the giveaway, I'm going to do one of those two things. So in the video, in the comment section, if you guys can let me know and tell people about it, have them watch the video and comment on it, and you know, share this video, get people's comments, I'd appreciate it, and it'll help me decide what I got to do. But I like the look of this knife. Again, it's a big old, it's a big one. It's heavy, sort of heavy in hand, because you got a lot of liner here and a lot of G10. I've also thought about doing some custom aftermarket scales, and I don't know. It's got jimping on both sides. It's a bruiser. It's a big knife. You know, we're talking about the blade is about 3 5/8 long cutting edge, so it's got a little bit of size to it. And that is the Twosun TS46, which is a little bit of a rare one. And that's that. Okay, now last but least, it's 17 minutes, and I'll try to get done in 3 minutes, because I know y'all guys are tired of watching me, and some of you probably haven't even made it this far yet. The Twosun TS301. Okay, pros and cons on this knife is pocket clip. The con on the pocket clip, while it works, it doesn't work well in real thick jeans. It does have thumb studs on both sides, which is a pro. Very flickable and very fidgety. The action on this thing is great. Centering is spot on, right down the middle. The frame lock with these inlaid micarta / carbon fiber scales is just beautifully done. The contrasting color looks great. This would be a good candidate for an aftermarket custom made scale setup, which I might do. This is definitely a keeper for me. I really like the integrated milled backspacer they have going on here. The ergos of this knife is just really good in hand for a medium-sized hand. I love the heavy jimping but well chamfered and deburred upward thumb ramp on this trailing point blade. We have this nice upward swept to where it's very, very nice. A lot of belly. It's a full flat grind. The sharpening choil, which is a pro, and that when you do sharpen this knife, because the thumb studs are all the way back here acting as stop pins, they're not going to get in the way when you go to sharpen this knife. It has a very nice angled cut swedge on top. It's nice and thin behind the edge. I think I measured around 20 thou. Got a nice stop pin for the internal stop. When you close it, that stops in the choil. You can see it in there. It stops in the choil as a stop. And again, the blade stop for the knife is the dual thumb studs. This is reverse flickable with the other stud, if I can get my fingers out of the way. And there again, I'm going to cut myself on camera for y'all guys. I'm not the best Spidey flicker, and because I'm trying to do it under this camera, I'm going to get cut. There we go. It worked that time. I really like the contours on this knife, the shape of it, this nice pattern, sort of sway backish, but it doesn't have an upward lift. It's all T8 hardware, all screws on the pivot. It has a D-shaped pivot to keep the pivot from spinning on you. And I like the fact that the milling relief on the frame lock is on the interior, so it adds to the exterior look of the knife. It does not have this cutout here, which is a nice add-on. It's clear through here. There is no chance of touching the blade from the back side. All these are pros. Maximum blade to handle ratio. You can't get no better than that. That is perfect. There's no way to get your finger stuck in here unless you got midget, not midget. No offense to midgets. Unless you try to really cram your finger in there and you have super flexible, skinny, tiny fingers, you're not going to get cut by this knife, as on some Twosuns you can. So with that being said, this is a great knife. I absolutely love it, and we are past 20 minutes, I swear. With that being said, the only real con that I have on this knife, two cons, is the lock bar relief. It's not hard to get to. There is a slight chamfer there, but if you have real meaty fingers or thumbs, it might be a little hard to get to. I don't have a problem with it, but I could see that could be a gripe of someone. But this is just overall a great knife. It is right-handed only. The clip is not reversible, and it's only tip up, which I carry tip up. I prefer tip up. I'm right-handed, so this knife, as do most Twosuns, fit my requirements. It is a nice sized blade. We have 3.5 inches of cutting edge, roughly. Not 3.5, about 3 7/16, maybe just over 3 3/8. And again, it does have a nice sharpening choil. The blade material is 14 City 28N, which Twosun seems to do a good job on. The next gripe, which I reckon there's three. The first one was the leaf cutout for the lock bar release. The next one is I wish they would have done the screws on this on the interior and just had this look like this. I think this cutout for the screws is not necessary, and I don't like it. But hey, it's all good. I still like the knife. It's not a good enough reason to get rid of it. And the last gripe is that they have stopped releasing these on eBay. They're no longer for sale. I got lucky and got this one from a fellow YouTuber. Love them knives, Lee over there, and he gave me some stickers for me and a few things for the giveaway that I'm getting ready to have. And he gave me an exceptional deal. This knife was carried at White Mountain Knives, and they were selling it, I think, for $98 or $89. It was less than $100, which is a great deal. These knives regularly sell when they were selling on eBay for $100 to $150, a few even more than that. So very hard to find. That's the big gripe, the big drawback. I'm guessing in the past what Twosun has done, when they stop selling something and it just disappears, it comes back and it has a blade change. So with that being said, maybe for y'all blade nerds out there, there might be one of these released in M390 or S90V or some kind of premium stuff, or S110V. There's no telling. 14C20N is a great steel. And this is the Twosun TS301. This is Rodney, Naftastic EDC. Remember, God is good. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll talk to y'all later. Keep that edge right. Bye now.